Okay, the next item is the budget. Okay, so, so I understand, you know, we'll be taking up budget issues in the future, but let me make the presentation here so that you can know where we're coming from.
Is this new budget information here that you gave us? Is this like a...
This is going to be this is the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Is yours better? Okay. Now how do I make it big? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Can we do something about these lights?
We good. Yeah, I do. Okay. Now maybe we should take it out. How's that?
Wonderful.
Okay, great. You all received a copy, well, if you were online, you received a copy, but if you were on the board, you received a copy of the budget report for the entire year, well, of all of our funds. I've given you an amended one that we may refer to as we go along with this presentation, because some of the lines, what I did was I actually took into account the amendment that we will pass, I hope, in a few minutes, and then you'll get to see, the numbers become much more clearer, and in fact, when that happened, I noticed that we had an error under our road work fund, so you'll notice that. So anyway, here's our budget, and I'll do my best to answer questions on this. So,
Which one are we on? I mean, I'm wondering.
we're not on anything that you've got in front of you. You get to watch the
okay.
screen, okay? These are our tax-supported funds. We've got the general fund, the police fund, fire service and medical rescue fund, which, by the way, expired with our December 2016 millage. So we need to have that renewed, so we'll be able to have funding beyond this year. Our DDA fund is also tax-supported, but we haven't captured any money for quite some time because of the economy and the loss of the tax base in that area. The Public Safety Building Debt Fund and the Building Authority Debt Fund, we get funding for that, for those. Our self-sustaining funds, we get state narcotics funds, federal narcotics funds, building department fund, and the wastewater treatment plan. They get funds from what they do. So those are not tax supported. And then we have special assessment districts for our sewer service. Oops, page down. Okay. So our general fund is to capture revenue dollars, and that's from property taxes, state revenue sharing, our cable franchise fees, administration fees from taxes, and then the and miscellaneous other things. And our departments are supported by the general fund, and that's this board, the supervisor, township manager, elections clerk, board of review, treasurer, assessing, hall and grounds, legal and professional. Just about everything here gets supported that the township deals with. So thanks to Lenore, she put these nice little pie charts together for me, which is really nice. So anyway, you can see the different distributions of the revenues, and you see most of our money comes from the state shared revenue. And I looked into that recently. This is where you'll see a change from your from the prior packet, that we should be getting an extra $30,000 in the next cycle from state revenue sharing. You can't count on it, but it's about $30,000 more than we were getting this year, which will be helpful. And then, let's see. You see our taxes. we're at 0.78 something as far as tax revenue for this, for the township. So this is what our residents pay in taxes. And so we only get, for our budget, only about $268,000 a year.
If I may, Madam Supervisor,
Yes.
I mean, you may want to go up to the presentation and just highlight the pie chart area that you're talking about.
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
a thought, because
Oh,
it's hard
there.
to see it.
Okay,
Or
thanks.
something like that.
Does
There you
that
go.
work? Okay,
Yep,
so
that's
here's our
good, and it-
taxes. State revenue sharing down here. And then this is the tax administration fees that we get because we put the taxes out. Oh, no, my little guy's gone. Okay. Whoops. Okay. So these are the general fund expenditures, and they're very hard to see. I'm sorry about this. But it starts at the top with our capital outlay, and the largest one at the bottom is road work. Now, the capital outlay, I had $9,000 in there for a police car to be used for code enforcement. And I did the spreadsheet. We would save about $1,300 to $1,400 a year in mileage reimbursements, but we had a $9,000 outlay for this vehicle, and our budget is tight. I eliminated that. So the capital outlay there is basically if we need another computer, and that's all we have in there. So you'll see it goes from the low of capital outlay and recreation, land preservation. I put 5,000 in each of those budgets, which you'll see. Recreation normally had $10,000, and so I had them both down to 5. And then our contingency fund is only $5,000. If we have some disaster that we needed to take care of, we only have $5,000. So the rest of them just descend, and you'll see down in the road work, we've got over $500,000 in the road work budget for this year, but $346,633 is related to the non-motorized path. And $221,633 of that is the grant that we will be receiving from the county. So that's why our road work is so high there. The remainder is just for limestone and ditching and whatever else that the county's going to do for us, and the 6-mile culvert. So there are other items there, but the vast majority of that money is going into the non-motorized path. Yes, go ahead.
I can't hear you.
If we're getting 221,000 and change back from the county against that 346,000 and change, shouldn't the amount budgeted be 125?
Right, it is. It's 221,633 plus 125,000, and then that much added together makes 346,633.
Right.
So the rest of that $506,000 is what we're going to be paying for the limestone and the dust control and all of that.
Are we still doing 3 applications of,
We are doing 3 applications, right?
Thank
This
you.
is, we voted, I put in everything we voted on.
I'll answer.
So we are getting 3 applications. Lots of people felt very strongly about that. So 3 applications are still in there. I didn't take away anything that we had all approved. And So-
If I may add, I think what you'll find is the revenue for the 221 is in the revenue side.
right, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So the way you have to account for it is you have to put the 221 in the revenue, but you also have to put the 221 in the cost. They'll neutralize each other, but it runs your cost expenditures, but you will see in the general fund, the revenue is there.
Right.
And actually, yeah, so that,
Yep.
and you'll notice on some of the paperwork that the other is very large. It's like 300 and some thousand, and that's because of the 221,000 for the road.
mhm.
So yeah, that to me is unfortunate about the accounting part, is you up your expenses and everybody's looking at the expenses, but the revenue's on the revenue side.
Right, right, mhm.
you have to have some pretty good eyes to see it from here.
Yes, there's a lot of different categories there, so, If you back this up, you could back this all the way up and it will get bigger. Oh, that's a lot better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably don't even need that thing. Put it on the wall instead of that thing.
well, it's getting blurry.
Thank you, Bill.
That's better. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, right. And I do want to mention, there's the township managers at, right above road work, that's the second biggest one. But the township manager budget includes other things besides just the township manager's salary. It does include Jennifer Carlisle's salary. There's some controller in there. You know, code enforcement was in there, it's no longer in there. But there are some other items in there that really, well, then we have
Well,
to create another category. If we did it with just the township manager, if we just took the township manager and spread that out, you'd see different categories under it, like Jennifer, for instance, you know. So, but that's the whole budget right now for the manager. So, the community center's $112,582. That's a lot of money. So
The one thing that we had in there was the People's Express, and what we did every year is allot them the $10,000. We did not do that this year, so why do we have it in the budget?
because it was in there last year.
Well, it's
That's-
because People's
yeah.
Express comes to us each year
And
and
asks.
asks for it.
Right,
So we really shouldn't put it in the budget unless we have it
right. I know
to give them.
Ms. Zelnok sent me a letter the day I was getting the packet, or the night before I was getting the packet. And I just couldn't get it onto this agenda. So, you know, yes, it can be removed, and it can be added back. Or we could just, you know, have it be a placeholder.
And it should be.
Yeah, it should be.
Should be removed.
It should be removed, that's right, completely.
Okay. And I'll have to find it in here where it exists, but I did see it.
Page 4.
Page 4?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 101-101.
Oh, welfare
3886.
costs.
Yep.
Yep. Welfare costs, and People's Express shows up in there. So I got that from the controller, and apparently it was, you know, it was just passed along because it had been approved for other years. And so if you find things like this, let me know.
The other one is the salary increases. Several of the deputies, and we've had salary increases here for deputies, for some deputies, not for all deputies, but for some deputies, and for Chief Wagner. I just feel at this point, if we don't have the money, we only give raises when we have the money. And so all the increases need to be taken out at this time. And when the board has not approved it. So if we approve this, we're actually approving all the increases.
I support that we remove them, because we should probably get reviews on these individuals before even
we give
considering
them
a raise.
increases.
I don't even think it's about, you know, if it's been, or people, performance reviews, anything that we haven't approved shouldn't be on here.
Right.
Very true, thank you.
So that amounts to what, about $12,000, Ms. Zelnok?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's $12,000 for those raises. I think
And so the
They're
Social
appropriate.
Security
Oh, yeah.
adjustments need to be
that
made.
includes, it's all included in that 12,000. But I would like well, and it comes in here later in the budget too, that the Personnel Committee take a look at a salary study and then make recommendations for what appropriate salaries are. I think Ms. Carlisle's salary is too low. I think our office staff is critical to the functioning of the township, and I'm concerned about us losing key staff if we're not going to be responsive to what salaries need to be. So I would like us to take a look at that. And while we haven't approved anything specific for them, those were in there as placeholders because I felt very strongly about them being compensated appropriately.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I just think as far as the budget goes, if it hasn't been approved, it shouldn't be in there. That's just my sentiment.
I
So
agree.
it comes out to $14,201.51 that,
Yeah, I came up with $14,037.86 if you were to give them a 6%, 8% rate for Jennifer Carlisle. And obviously, if you cut it in half between 3 and 4, you're talking $7,980.82.
yeah, I don't mind doing that, but we haven't approved it. And if we
Okay.
approve the budget, we're approving these raises. So I would say
How did you
at this
handle it
time-
last year?
Huh?
How did you handle it last year?
You would have to take a motion to approve the raises. That-
That's correct. Doesn't.
Okay.
Just because it's in the budget doesn't mean you give them the raises.
Well,
Right.
you're allocating the money for it.
Well,
That's true.
and that's important. If-
That is
if we-
important to know that, what it would cost, so that
Right.
you don't allocate it somewhere else.
I understand that, but I think that you have to do the increases when you have the money.
Mhm.
You know, we complain that we're at a certain percentage of our.
Our fund balance.
Our fund balance, so let's look at that, see where we can adjust, and if the budget comes out, starting to come out good, then we can start giving people
Well, right
raises
now,
as needed.
we're neutral. So I
And-
don't think personally that.
And we'll have a new leader by then, maybe.
Well, I mean,
That
I
would be
personally
helpful.
don't
Mr.
think,
Dockett, let
Huh?
I
Ms.
don't
Zelnok
think
speak.
the staff should burden and carry it,
But
because
the
we are
problem is
neutral.
that you didn't give the increases to all staff, you only gave them to certain people.
Well,
All
what-
staff have not been given raises in this.
the
Who are we
wastewater
missing?
treatment has received raises.
Who are we missing?
The suggestion of a salary study may make sense.
Mhm. Well, we have the deputy, we have our deputies with getting a raise. We have,
Who are we missing? I mean,
who are we missing?
yeah,
Building,
yes,
what is hers?
Yeah.
Yours is 6%,
yeah, Mary's there,
Mary's 6%.
deputy.
Jennifer's not in there
She's
Yes.
in there at 8,
at 8%?
yes.
You didn't break
It's-
it down.
Well, of course, it's under, like, Jennifer's increase is under
Probably under manager,
Township
right?
Manager. And
But it shouldn't be in there because it hasn't been approved. No, it's
that's
not.
true.
It's not put in there as a raise. It's not broken down.
It says $19 an hour.
That's all it says. I don't know
Right.
if that's what she currently makes, or is that the increase that you're?
17
Well,
something.
it's not broken down.
Well, that's why I would like us to do a salary study, but I put the money in
But
as a placeholder, so we don't,
Do it afterwards. It's
Okay.
harder to take the money out, it's harder to put the money back in. I mean,
yeah, if you take it out, we don't have
we need
it.
to take it out.
We need to take it out because we have not approved it. We need to
Because we
strike these
haven't
items.
approved it. And you just said, we're only doing the things that we've approved. We haven't approved these things.
So are we putting anything in for the manager? What are we putting in for the manager?
No,
We just approved the,
Mm-hmm.
the manager's budgeted for 3 years.
At what amount?
It's 60,000.
I thought we were putting 60,000 in.
well, we approved.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
60.
So I mean, even, I'm even saying,
Did,
I'm sorry, I'm even saying that Chief Wagner's increase needs to be taken out too. It just all needs to be taken
We
out.
just
I
gave
don't think he
Wagner
got one.
$6,000.
And then we give them an increase upon,
So we come to the table with a whole bunch of amendments in the future.
yes, exactly,
We just give Wagner $6,000.
when we have the money.
Less than a year
Okay.
ago.
That's, that happens with any company that you're with, is you give increases with the pools of allotment that you have.
Okay, we will come with a recommendation for a salary increase in July. Maybe. By the second meeting in July, unless we can get our act together and get the salary study done, which, it's hard for us to get together for that, but we will have raises in July.
But
Yes.
go back to the budget.
we need to pull
Yes.
this out of the budget now. In order to pass this budget, we need to get down to the things we approved.
Okay, we will recalculate and remove all of those raises for for a final document that I can sign.
We have to make a motion tonight, I believe.
Yeah, yes, but let's get through this and talk about some of our other issues, and then we'll get to the end of that. Okay, so here's the general fund. Then here's pie charts of the general fund. Oh, that doesn't look as good. Anyway, this is percentage of our total expenditures. So our recent draws on the general fund, which has brought it down so far, is the purchase in the last fiscal year, is the purchase of the Van Curler property. It was $330,000 or so, plus taxes, which were about $20,000. The transfer of funds to purchase a fire truck, $250,000, and the partial payment for the non-motorized path was $72,000. So we did spend our fund balance down considerably last year. So I was talking to our auditors about it because the fund balance was quite low, and they said, well, it can be thought of as a savings account for programs and services for the township. That's how they look at fund balance, and they recommend 100% or more, just so you have some good savings should something happen. However, a company that manages and evaluates townships say that a general law township like us with the fiscal year that we have, July 1st to June 30th, would have a 40% as the minimum that you should have in your fund balance. However, we have a policy of 85%. So, that's obviously been violated by us. We ought to figure out what we want to do about that. But that's if you're not putting any money in capital outlay, and we're not putting any money in capital outlay. So when we're approaching 40% for a fund balance with no money set aside for anything in capital outlay, that's pretty difficult.
Well, and that also means that we're at a budget constraint now. So anything that we don't have to spend, we don't spend.
Okay, and that's why when you see the list of everything I pulled out when I was trying to get this balanced, it's amazing. So here's the general fund in the 15-16 was $1,603,498. It's 129%. And then this end of this year, it's $866,418. And that's 69% of a normal year's expenses. We had a lot higher expenditures, so I didn't count it against that, but that's significant. So the next item was the police fund, and this is our dedicated millage to provide police protection. And here's where the revenues come from, taxes. Oops. And then I don't know what happened to the other things that were up there sticking out. Okay.
Court fees.
And here's their expenditures. So it's mostly personnel. Our fire and medical rescue fund, again, it was ended, so we are hoping that the voters will approve another 5 years of 2 mills. I don't know what happened with these slides, Lenore. Anyway, then their taxes to support them would be $682,654 in general fund, and then that other portion, which you can look up on in your budget report. You can find out what that goes to. I don't quite know. Do you, Chief? What kind of revenue is that?
Yeah, we do some billing for crashes on the highway, hazmat incidents, and I believe a portion of that is a sale of a couple of fire trucks this year.
Oh, okay.
Once the new truck comes in.
Okay.
That's correct.
Oh, good heavens. All of my little numbers are gone. That was their expenditures. The donation fund, now this fund we could use for tracking donations to the township, and Ms. Beliger is interested in people making donations to the township for various things, and we can keep them in there and track them. There's nothing in there right now. It's totally empty. But donations given to the township for a public good are tax deductible. So people giving donations for the non-motorized path, for instance, those are tax deductible.
Thanks for having that in there, great.
The DDA captures tax dollars, but we haven't gotten any lately. We have Narc Funds that you've heard about in the past. Chief has spoken about. If anyone has questions, they can ask him.
I have a question. It's only $150,000 this year. Hell, we pay a full-time officer and buy him a car and buy his gas and all that. I don't see we're making much money on that this year, Chief.
Mr. Dockett, we put in a number there. It could be $50,000. It could be $300,000. We don't have any way to really know what kind of forfeitures we're going to have, so we kind of have averaged it out over the.
What did you have last year? Do you know?
I'd have to look it up.
Well, 150,000 is what you got in there this year. 159,000 or something like that.
Okay.
But if you took this guy's wages and all his benefits and a car and gas and everything out of there, I don't see, and he's not on our roster, he doesn't work in Northfield Township. I think it's a waste of money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dockett. Okay, page.
We had 100,000 in for this year.
100,000, okay, good. The building department fund, this is just for the building. People pull permits to build and fill and do all sorts of things to their properties. Public safety building debt fund, this is how we pay for this building. Wastewater treatment plant fund, we have that one. I'm not going to go into all of these different funds. We have their sewer funds and the fiscal year 16-17 budget, well, no, it's 17-18, sorry. This budget, I added the $30,000 estimated state revenue sharing increase and then the non-motorized path. So that's what's included in this year.
So Marlene,
Yes.
you show it as a change, but in the one that you presented 2 weeks ago, the 221,633 was in the requested budget column. Why is it different?
It may not, which one, where are we? Oh, the grant income?
Yeah, the grant income.
Well, it used to be in the amended budget, and it got shifted to the 17-18 budget. I've made a mistake up here. This shouldn't say fiscal year 16-17, it should say 17-18.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but that it didn't change
It-
our
it-
allocation from 2 weeks ago to
It-
what it is today?
It did not.
Okay.
It did not. There was just a change that I made in those lines and noticed that there was, I was changed to show the zero there, that I took it out of this year if we do the amendment shortly. So, and this is this year's budget also, sorry, it should be 17-18. So the expenditures approved by the board, this is what I've included: the township manager, the non-motorized path, the extra application of dust control for the rural roads, and the replacement of 6 Mile Road culvert, because we've approved all of that. I put in raises for the several office staff and the deputies, pending a salary study and recommendation by the Personnel Committee. Code enforcement, I increased to 2 days a week, although that is in the building department now, that's not in the general fund. And I put in $5,000 for each of the Parks and Rec Board and $5,000 for the Land Preservation Committee. Parks and Rec normally gets $10,000.
That's not an automatic. They have to come before the board every year and
ask for it
ask for it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that should also be
They
taken
might not
out.
even use it, that's what they said.
Okay, why wouldn't we want to allocate them any money?
It's not that we
Because
don't want to, we
It's
just
not,
haven't.
we
yeah.
just
Yeah.
don't.
Okay, well then, we'll have them come and ask also,
They
correct?
have to, they said they would.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was going to recommend $5,000. So I can't recommend anything
But the
either,
board
huh?
hasn't approved anything for them. So it goes back
I
to,
know.
they have to provide us what they want to spend it on, and the board approves what they,
Okay, so we can take that out, but I put this budget together as a recommendation, and that's why I'm recommending the salary increases too. And it's a holding It's a holding number so that we can make sure we have money in there. But we can take it out for this purpose and put it back
Well, you
in.
have a contingency fund of $5,000. I don't know what they used it for, probably for a buffer.
That won't pay for salaries.
I understand, but if you want to have a buffer, you can.
Can we put all this money in the contingency fund?
Can't we put this in the general fund? Why not?
If they want it, they can just come. I think.
Why not the general fund? Why we have to
just
put it in all
leave
these
there,
different
and
pockets?
And as things come up, then you present it as a motion, and we decide if we want to do it. That's
Well,
how
I
we've
think that
done
would,
things.
that might,
You don't want to ever remove the $5,000.
No, I'm saying, whatever we haven't approved shouldn't be in the budget.
Right.
But, so, and just like every other thing, if somebody wants the money or needs.
Can you please use the mic,
Please
please?
ask her to talk in the mic, will you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think if whatever is in the budget should be money that we've already approved, not money we expect we're going to have to use it, unless it's something that is typical that runs, like some of these items run annually.
So what has happened in the past when we looked at our fund balance, we look at the money that we have left over and say, okay, how far, that's why we came up with the 85%, because we had extra money in our fund balance to use, and then we made a priority of what are we going to use this on, and make the priority from there.
So can't we just put this in the fund balance, the salary thing, the parks or the land preservation, pull all that stuff out of here and put it into the general fund? Is that what we do?
It is in general fund now.
General fund.
We'll just take it out of these little individual lines, individual departments.
It hasn't been approved, and that's what we're trying to
We
say.
need to remove those.
It needs to be removed because we have not approved any of that.
Exactly, so we
Okay.
need to go ahead and do that.
Okay,
Well-
when we remove these, they'll go back into the fund balance, and we'll have to pull from the fund balance.
That sounds great.
And we need to do that, at our,
And we'll have to vote
for
on
salaries
that.
at our next,
We'll have to vote on.
That's great,
and
that's
we'll
how it
vote on
should
it.
be.
And we'll have to vote on that, is that
Okay.
right?
That's our job.
That's fine.
Then you have a more realistic figure for what you've actually got, not what you expect.
Right. Well, unless everyone felt fine about Parks and Rec having $5,000, then we could just go and do it.
It's not the way the procedure should be, is what we're getting at.
I'm not sure that has been done that much differently in past years, except for maybe salaries. It seemed like Howard would recommend certain amounts
Well, let
in
us
the
start a
budget,
policy
and then-
where it's in the general, in the
Yep.
fund balance, and different boards
Okay.
come to us requesting, or committees come to us, and we approve different things such as salary increases and so
Okay.
forth as a
We'll have a
board.
list of amendments ready then in the next month.
Well, we could make amendments tonight,
Well, no.
or we could remove
Well,
items
you're gonna-
tonight.
We
You
can,
can move.
we can remove it, we could vote to leave something in there tonight if we liked it. So, anyway, let me finish here so we can get to the end of
Yeah,
this.
fine.
And,
Then we can have discussion.
pardon?
I said, I think of a budget process different.
Yeah.
The budget process is right now representing as a board of what we want, so the public knows what we're going to be spending
Mhm.
their money on. And it seems like the majority right now says, no, each individual item that's an increase or different, you want to come separately. So I think of the budget process differently.
Yeah.
I appear to be in the minority, is that this is the recommendation, do we agree or do we not agree? And if you want to come and get every individual item approved, okay. So,
Well, I would even go as far
So-
as saying any contractual agreements in here, if it's not, if the increases that I see on the contracts in here, if it's not in the agreements, then it needs to be taken out.
So we should get rid of our attorney?
No,
We don't
I didn't
have a
say-
contract with them, either. That's not been approved for
yeah, I mean,
several years.
wait,
It's just been carrying
yeah.
on. There are, it's surprising, but,
Well, at the end, we can go
Okay.
through and remove items that
Right.
that aren't to be here, right, at this
So-
point.
I'm sure they haven't done it but line item by line item in the past.
Yeah, so I mean,
well, that's how the school that I'm at, if we don't have contractual obligations signed, if things aren't in place, then we don't do it. And I work on with state fundings. So if the contract isn't in place, it's not allocated for the budget.
So I mean, do we have a contract with our lawyers? Do we have a contract with Lisa? Do we have a contract with Jim? Do we have a
Yeah,
contract with
Well,
OHM?
the contract was
Do we
in
have
place
a-
at one time.
I-
If it's rolled over to Evergreen and we've never renewed the contract, that's a different story. Has it expired? Yeah, okay.
Right.
So, I mean,
I think our budget is
so
going to
unless
work
you tell
really
us
good.
that
We're
it's
all going home.
expired, have they expired?
Can you
It
find
might just
'em?
be rolling over, I don't know.
It's just rolling over. So
But
that doesn't mean that
I-
we don't have contracts.
I'm
But,
not
I mean,
sure.
is that what the contract says? Is it, now, I've been talking to our attorney, and he does not like automatic renewal, so I highly doubt his contract has that in there. That's the first thing he pips on any contract I
He's an
have.
attorney, he would have it automatically in there.
Okay.
Because everything I give him, he pips that one right away. No automatic renewals.
Okay. Okay, wait, Ms.
defend
Ms. Manley
himself.
has a question.
I mean, Jim and Lisa, we don't have contracts with them.
Right, we're going to.
They're anxious.
Well, I mean,
correct.
it hasn't been an issue in the past, it's an issue now, so are we just cutting them out of the budget for now?
We are trying to clean things up.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's been a challenge, you know.
These are running things, these are new things.
Well, some,
Well, somewhere along the line, we have approved Lisa, we have approved Jim. And just because we don't have a contract with them doesn't mean that we don't put them in the budget. At some point, the board approved it. And the same thing with the attorney. The board approved them. So
I
what
thought-
we said is, if the board hasn't approved it, it isn't in the contract.
Sounds good. So things that the board hasn't
Anyway.
approved need to be removed from this budget. We should do this by line item tonight and then approve the budget at that point.
I
tonight.
have to disagree with that. I mean,
That
we,
this board has approved, or
you
other
know,
boards have?
we can take out the few, I mean, if you want to take out Parks and Rec, land preservation, you know, that's all great. I did give you guys the opportunity to comment in the past couple of weeks. I didn't get anything from anybody, really. Maybe,
You've had comments from the last session.
what substantive comment?
The comments on the raises were at the last board meeting.
That
And
one,
so was
yes.
the car, and so was
So
the
was the
farmland
car, and so
preservation.
everything.
I removed
We've-
the car.
Yeah, and the farmland preservation was in there, and the raises were discussed.
The
So we
raises-
need to remove these items that we have not
Okay.
approved.
Let's enumerate the few that we would like to revisit then. Because we have to adopt a budget tonight or we can't function.
And we'll adopt one with these
We
things
can't do it
removed.
in 5 minutes. Okay, let's keep going here. All right, so what's not in the budget? There's no funding for the master plan review, including the survey, no funding for the non-motorized plan, and no funding for the RFQ for the North Village. None of that was voted on, and it was not put in.
What is a non-motorized plan? I don't-
That was something that the Planning Commission asked to do,
Okay.
and a workshop. There's no funding for any capital improvement plan or improvements to township facilities, no funding for an additional staff person for the building department, and there's no funding to fix this air conditioning or heating in here either. So we just don't have that much money. Okay, so this is our building department. There's two photos of Mary trying to work in her teeny-weeny space here, and I don't know how she can work efficiently there. I'm going to redesign the whole, well, see, I've been waiting, you know, but
You have
we
to have
need to,
approval.
we need to we don't have to,
Because it costs.
no, it wouldn't, to move Mary over, so we're going to have to talk about it as a staff and see what to do with everybody, because there is not room to efficiently work where she's working.
Well, one thing you have to understand is if we move her to that room, make sure that there is allocation for her computer and outlets and everything.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
that there is in one corner of the room.
Yeah, I was thinking of putting the whole planning department in the manager's office.
Marlene, you need to talk into the mic, Madam Supervisor.
Pardon?
We're gonna
We can't
have,
hear
You
you,
need to
Madam
talk into the mic.
Okay, sorry.
There you go, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so anyway, we do need to do some rearranging, reorganizing, And I had hoped that we would have some money in the budget to put planning department up here, although I don't know that we could adequately heat and cool them at this point.
Well, I don't think you should do anything with that manager's office,
Why not?
because we're gonna have a manager that's gonna be taking care of that. It's not your place to do.
That's why I
He's gonna
haven't
need
done
it.
it, you
No,
know.
no.
That's why I haven't done it.
Well.
All right, so
you-
anyway,
you
but you
have
can
no-
just-
You have no right to do it.
Okay.
Because we know you vote against the manager. We know you don't want him. So I'm gonna be watching you very closely.
Okay,
And the other two also.
you do that. Thank you.
Marlene can have an opinion just like you can have an
Well,
opinion.
you can-
So
That's
all
right,
it is.
that's
Yeah.
right. You can have an opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you my opinion.
Okay.
All right, and that means if we're not agreeing to something, we have to vote on it, so.
All right. Okay, we gotta get through this here. So this is kind of one of our issues, you know? And we don't have enough staff either. So, what do we do now? The budget does include the funding needed to manage the day-to-day operations. You know, I did not cut stuff out that we needed to run the township. We need to consider the ramifications of not funding or delaying certain important projects and prioritize the items that were not included in this budget. That's the master plan stuff, the North Village stuff, staffing, salaries, those kind of things. We need to revisit the items identified at the retreat and develop a plan. We need to explore other funding mechanisms such as fees and grants to help raise funds and explore potential cost savings with our contracts. So, what do we need to do? Approve this budget so we can get into the next month and have some money to spend. Yeah, I'm happy to cut out whatever items you guys have identified as we have not approved, that being the Parks and Rec and the land preservation.
So is it, we're gonna remove both of those, correct? And we're gonna remove the salary increases? And we
Okay.
need to remove People's Express. You said you already removed the automobile, so I don't need to reiterate that one.
Mhm.
How about North Village?
Okay, is there anything else that anyone is being concerned about?
Some
Jack?
membership dues, what is WATS for 1,100 and SEMCOG, we're not a city, for 1475 in the Huron River watershed, perhaps we could save a few thousand and remove, not allocating, it looks like about $3,500 there.
Those are the memberships and the organizations that we receive a lot of assistance with.
What is
instance,
WATS, please?
WATS, Washington Area Transportation Study.
We need it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, every one of those we need.
Yes.
How about if we also, in addition to removing these, there was a question about the engineer for 10K on page 11 or 10, depending on which of these documents you're looking at.
I would not remove that. We tend to need engineering services for various questions
Yeah.
that go along.
Okay.
You notice that's been cut very low.
Okay, one other question is I would like to see that we take the revenue that we are gaining on the 2727 North Territorial, which is the fire department, the fire building over there, and do like we do 75 Barker and take the money that we get from there and to put that into a fund for that facility only. So not the general fund and not just the
Yeah,
fire fund, but only for 2727 North Territorial for building maintenance and repair, as we do with 75 Barker.
Yeah, I thought when we approved the tower being there, that was a requirement of that motion, that 100% would have went towards the fire department
Is that your
for that
recollection?
building.
Right, it was 75-25.
Oh, it was? Oh, okay,
Right.
all right. I thought it was 100%.
Is this something that we could or should change? Could we make a motion to alter that now, or is this something, how do we address
No.
that?
Well, I'm sure they need all sorts of things, but, yeah.
Well, the property belongs to
Okay.
the taxpayers. It doesn't belong to the fire department or the general fund. So I agree with her. I believe the money should be put in a lockbox so that when we need a new roof, we need a new parking lot, we need a septic tank and drain field, we need something, we have the money. Otherwise, that you guys are siphoning off the money, $400 a month to the general fund, $1,100 to Wagner, and then when something happens, the taxpayers pay again.
Okay.
That tower should pay for anything goes on out there, in my opinion.
Like 75 Barker.
Yeah. We should establish a fund that holds those kind of funds for those uses, and I agree with that, Mr. Dockett.
Thank you very much, man.
But we can amend this budget next month when we do all the other amendments.
When we, another one is the planner meetings. I understand why we're doing it, because of the issues that we're having with approving.
Can you tell me what page you're on?
Well, in the old one, it was page 11. I don't know what it is on this one.
Okay.
It is 101-412-801.
Okay, planner fees, yeah. You'll notice that it's really, I don't have a lot of money in there at all, really, we had this year's budget for 40,000. I took out all of that, 25,000 for the master plan, so it got down to there. I do think that we need to talk about our planning consultants, and
I think that should be an overall discussion.
Yes.
And
yes.
I just think at one point, if we could just take it out now, because it should be an overall discussion. There should be a total plan in place.
I have a plan, but it's not been presented before this budget. So
Yeah.
if your preference is to take out, 2640, I mean, that's not getting us very far, but, you know, we can do that and hopefully amend.
I mean, all these start adding up. They do add up. I think
Okay.
you're going to find that once you take the salaries out, which is about 14,000, you're going to find we're going to come close to $20,000 that we found.
So can we get a confirmation of what we are removing at this point so that I can double check and make sure that these things are covered? We had the salaries. We have the automobile, which you already took care of. People's Express, the farmland preservation, and Parks and Rec. And you said the planner?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2,640.
Is there
Well, I
any-
just multiplied that out. That's where that came from.
And I wanted to address the thing with regards to creating the cell tower fund like for Barker. And is there anything else that?
I think we can, let's leave the cell tower alone until we amend next time.
The roof on that building is going to be $40,000. They're getting $11,000 a year. It's going to take 4 years to replace the roof, so
It'll help.
if we pull it away.
It's $17,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's not $11,000, $17,000
Okay.
a year. Over 17,000, isn't it, Wagner?
100% goes to the,
Not that the fire department's getting.
No, you get 11,000. You get 1,100
Okay.
a month.
One
But the township
conversation,
board, the general fund gets $400 and some dollars a month.
we can't hear with everybody talking simultaneously.
Well, I think
I was
had
trying to
right.
get you some notice so
Oh.
you could finish your sentence.
Well,
So,
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so if everyone is fine with the rest of the budget, removing those items, so we're talking about, again,
I see no problem with stopping the 17,000.
Yeah, we should put the 17,000 all in that lockbox for like we did 75 Barker. I think we're going to do that soon. So the items, can you please list them off for us and see if there's anything that we have everything covered
let me
that will
see.
be removed
Okay.
for
Well-
our vote?
Okay, if we take all the cell tower income out, which is 4284, that'll be 0. That's all going to the fire. Then, is everyone okay with that? No, let's take a vote on that.
Okay? What,
Okay, make a motion if you would like to remove the cell tower income, 25% of that from the general fund. Go ahead.
no,
I'll make the motion that 100% of the revenue for the cell tower allocation revenue It would be in GL 216000684 and GL 101000684 be all allocated back to the fire department at 100%.
Should it,
You just allocated the Barker Road to
Oh.
the,
Is
To
that the
the-
Barker Road?
yep. I'm sure
Or-
Chief will
Page
take
you're
it,
on.
but
Huh?
What page?
the first page, yeah.
That's cell tower, no?
Yeah, but,
684,
yeah, 684, but you did 688 also, didn't you?
No,
There's
I
two-
did the fire department GL code is 216000684.
Okay.
And the one in our general fund is 101000684.
Okay.
I'd like to amend that
And
motion.
where's it going, Jackie? Or, Jackie, where's it going?
Want to put it,
It's going all back into general ledger 216000684, which is the fire department. No. The money that is in 101000684 for $4,284 is being sent back to the GL account 216000684, which is the fire department. So they're getting 100%.
Well, I thought we were talking about putting it in a lockbox.
put it in its own fund for that building.
can't do that right now.
We're not talking about giving it all to Wagner.
I mean, you can.
We don't have an account
Right,
for it
exactly.
yet.
You can't have an
That's the
account.
problem.
So,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
So we can't, really, we shouldn't be able to do it right now until we have an account set up.
Let's do it next month.
Okay.
We'll establish a line item. We'll talk to the controller, we'll establish a line item, and then we'll vote on it next month. It's not going to hurt anything sitting here for a month. Okay.
Please make sure that's on the agenda.
Send me an email, and I'll
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
put it in that list. Okay. Okay, so we're not dealing with cell tower today. Okay, so we are taking out land preservation, parks and rec, the salary increases, and People's Express. Is that all?
The planner, the 264, 2006.
Yeah, the planner meetings.
Oh, the planner. Yes, extra planner.
I did have just one more question.
Yes.
On the software, there was an allocation for, I think it was $12,000.
Oh,
Is that for new software, or is that for
Um,
just licensing?
let me, tell
Is
me
that the
what number it
BSNA?
is.
It's the accounting software, so
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Oh, those are, what do you call them, subscriptions or something?
Which page was that?
No, that would be
Cliff?
licensing, licenses.
That was, yeah, that's a usual,
So I was thinking it was probably $1,000 a month license.
it could be, we created a new information technology department, because this was all lumped into, underneath the township manager. And so, because we're doing, a little more with our information technology, we broke it out.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
If it was a licensing thing.
I do want to mention that I would, and this we did not vote on, but I hope we do tonight. Cloud backup for our server, and that's approximately $130,000 a month to do
130,000?
that.
No, wait, how much a month?
No, sorry, $130. $130 a month. Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
right.
we're done.
But I don't have a firm number yet for that, but I think it's critical that we make sure that our data is secure, and that, and I have had some recommendations for this. This is the lower amount if we, back up this way. I can have a presentation for you and extra information before any contract is signed. But I wanted to make sure that we were going to be protecting the township from computer failures. And some time ago, they had a failure of the assessing computer and lost a lot of data. And it's been taking them years to recover from that.
Isn't,
They have a hard backup, but it doesn't protect you from something like that WannaCry virus, apparently. So,
Yeah, you have to be very careful.
we do need to be looking out for the township, and while you might think we're not a target, there's a lot of stuff that goes on out there, and it really could be just an innocent opening of a document that gets sent to any
Well,
one
one
of
of the
us.
issues too is because we're putting things out there on we're putting stuff out there on Facebook from our offices,
Mhm.
and Facebook carries a lot of viruses.
Right.
So, the other thing I wanted to ask too is on grounds cleaning and janitorial service. We increased the budget by $4,000.
Tell me the number.
101-265-816.
Yes. Yes, I see it.
It was increased by $4,000. I was wondering, is this part of a new contract that we just approved recently, or is this something that you're expecting that
It-
will happen
No,
coming in December?
it's a contract that we just wrote.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
We
so-
now we are mowing the community park. I mean, and our snow is going to go up because we're going to be plowing the non-motorized path. So there are costs associated
Okay.
with some of the projects, and so that's why it's up. It's in anticipation of that. And rather than come into December or January or February not have any money for that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if we had if it was coming to a new contract that we got, or one that we already approved.
No, we have the new summer contract that we've already
Okay.
done, you know. So once we sign contracts and we find out it's going to be high or it's going to be low, we can amend the budget. But we need to make sure that we have money in there, because otherwise we can't do what we need to do. Ms. Beliger?
Do we need to take some bids or do a little research on this cloud backup stuff? And as you mentioned about, you know, we're talking about allocating funds. Is this something that shouldn't be allocated just yet until we actually decide what we're doing and then pay for it at that point?
I did get a quote from Kelly Olson, who does all of our information technology stuff in the Township Hall, and he gave me two options, and this was the lower price of it. I looked at it and said, well, why can't we get rid of a lot of stuff that we're no longer using, which reduced the cost a bit? So 130 is probably the highest we'll need to go. While we could, bid it out, and perhaps we should find some other options to compare it to. I'm not expecting there to be a big change. That does not seem excessive to me. I just want it as a placeholder at this point so we can get it done. Ms. Chick?
I don't know if this is a budget question or not, but I know, and understandably so, we've been using our labor council a lot lately. Is there some way that we can cut back on that? There are questions that only she can answer.
Well, that's been the issue with the township manager. There's been a lot of back and forth. There's been a lot of back and forth with one of our, closed session issues, and that's taken quite a bit, and so that's been high. We've had, other legal costs that have, with Paul Burns and Brad Maines about tax tribunal issues, and so it's been very high, the attorney fees recently. And I'm concerned about that, when we may be able to make some adjustments to how we operate here and not have Mr. Maines here at every meeting. And apparently was never, that was in the past. They weren't here at every meeting. They were just here when they needed to be here. And a lot of things were done by letter. So they would look over the contract, send us a letter, instead of being here to actually, have to answer questions.
That started with Howard Fink.
The
It started with Howard Fink.
Right. Mr. Fink wanted them here all the time. And while they are on retainer, they are not on retainer for this meeting. So,
okay.
When these meetings go to 11 o'clock and they start at 6:30, that's additional, So, but apparently that had become customary to have our attorney here. And yes, I have to admit, I like Mr. Maines. And he does bail me out on occasion, or many occasions. We could cut costs by not having him here all the time,
Maybe every other meeting, maybe once a month or as needed.
I
when
just have
needed.
One quick question.
Yes, Ms. Otto.
So the automobile was taken out
Yes.
as being sold to the township. We have it over on the revenue side of the police fund as sale of fixed asset.
Mhm.
Are we still planning on selling that? Okay.
Yeah.
Why can't you donate it to the township?
Well, that particular vehicle was purchased with drug forfeiture money, so
He
When
has to sell it.
when it's sold, it has to go back into the drug forfeiture fund.
Okay. All right, so anything else that needs to be removed from this budget at the moment? Because I'm going to need it, we're going to need to approve this for tonight, and I can make adjustments in all of the, I don't have that with me. Let me finish this thing here. So we need this budget approved. But I do think it's important that we establish a date, or at least meeting times when we actually do set our priorities as far as funding things go, identify potential revenue streams, potential cost savings, and we need to look at our fund balance policy. So that needs to happen. If you want to do it in a retreat in an afternoon, that would be fine with me. We just need to pick a date, and that tends to be challenging.
Is there any way prior to the time when the budget has to be done, that like a month before, that we can have a proposed budget and go through all this stuff before we even get to this point?
We can. Now, this was an unusual year because I did make a note that we've lost, Mr. Fink's not around to ask, to deal with it, and Rick Yeager left, and then our new controller came on, but, so there's been a lot of challenges. This is my first budget. Next year is going to be better. And they recommend that you don't wait until, the end. So, 6 months out, you start looking at stuff. Right now, a lot of our contracts have not come up yet for renewal. And so some of the numbers, we don't know. Prices are going up. We're estimating for a lot of things in this budget, but we need to make sure that we do it as accurately as we can. So anyway, I'm happy to take out those items that you have all highlighted tonight, and then if with your approval, move on to adopt the, what's it called? General Appropriations Act, but I will definitely take out all of the items that we had discussed. So this is done.
Would you like a motion?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion to approve the Northfield Township General Appropriation Act, Resolution Number 17-567.
As amended. As we amended the budget.
As amended.
I will distribute an amended copy.
I would like to list briefly the amendments, or just a key word for each amendment so that these are outlined.
Okay. Oh, actually, I need to pass out a new version, so you know what changed. And then we will cross off some other things. So here are two new versions.
I don't understand what you mean by new versions.
The one that I just passed out, you will notice when you look down at the general fund revenues at the bottom, you'll see a revision column. And these were updated based on new information that I received yesterday. And a correction to the road work
Is this on page 1?
line item. So on page 1 of the General Appropriations Act, toward the bottom, you'll see it says revision, where the numbers are. It's the general fund revenues, original and revision.
Yeah.
Okay. Determined that there was going to be about $30,000 more available to us from the state. So I revised that number, which helps us actually not be so far in the red. And then you'll see on page 3, and my pages are numbered. On page 3, under estimated expenditures, you will see under road work, there is $506,163, and this was due to an incorrect entry on, in the budget, due to road commission contract. So I needed to raise that. And then the capital outlay, I did change due to eliminating the vehicle. So these were the changes that were made to the document. And then I have a final version which has all those changes incorporated into them, which I'm going to pass out now. So you can throw away the one I just gave you,
Oh, my gosh.
the one with the revisions. Okay, but that's just for your information, so you know what the revisions were. Now, this is the one that we need to pass. But we need to change the, some of the line items.
I need one, please.
Pardon?
I need one.
Well, I got one.
You
I
only
need
got
one.
Okay, here. Here's another one. Thanks. Here comes another one. Oh, no? Okay. So now we have to find where in here those things exist. And,
So we're receiving this at 10:20 PM, June 27th.
yep, you can be upset about that if you want, but a lot of things
Merely a comment.
are very difficult to get done in a timely manner.
So are we changing any of these dollars, or are we leaving it as is, stating that there's an amendment for certain line items?
And we could do it stating that there's going to be an amendment, and I will just distribute the
I think, yeah,
amended
that
copy.
you can pass this as it is and then to do the amendments after,
Or
at
we could-
another meeting.
Or we
even.
could have done them next month and instead
Right.
of going through all those things, but,
Almost pass it as is
I
and
would
amend it
too.
next month, because
Yeah.
otherwise, I
It won't
don't
get,
think we
the problem
technically
is
have a
they won't-
budget.
Right,
they won't be amended. That's the point. We need to amend them and confirm that they're going to be amended. Then we pass the budget.
And why do you think they
Okay.
won't be amended?
here we go. See, you see down here, there, I know, because nobody, it's unfortunate that there's a lack of trust on this board, but,
Anybody can amend.
but we could
right.
take a vote.
We can take the recreation and land
Right.
preservation
You
out,
could just
that's
take a vote.
easy.
Right,
Okay,
okay.
all right. Who's making a motion?
Because
I'll make a motion to approve Northfield Township General Appropriations Act Resolution Number 17-567 as revised.
Oh, as,
What do you mean by
That's
as,
revision.
you mean
then
this
I
one?
would include noting that
And with upcoming amendments.
well,
to
this-
those areas that we identified.
This is the one you just gave me, the latest one.
The latest one, so you want it to pass it as amended by
Add-
all of our comments tonight? Okay.
Right, but we don't have to list the amendments.
You don't have to list them?
We can do the amendments one at a time at another meeting.
Lisa, did you get that?
No,
Yeah,
no.
you either
Yes,
have to pass it as it is or make changes to it now.
Now.
You can
Make
pa-
changes
you can-
to it now.
You can pass it as it is
And amend it.
and then make
Yeah,
amendments
that's what I'm
later, but
saying.
you can't pass it tonight saying,
Yeah.
and we're also going to guarantee that we're gonna make changes later
No,
to be named at
no,
a different
right,
date. Yeah, I
right.
just want to be clear
Yeah.
about that, okay.
Pass it as is,
Right, in the interest of time.
yes,
We will amend it next month.
yes. Okay,
Okay.
so that's my motion.
Okay, so a motion by Chick.
How hard is it to
I'll
amend
second.
this now?
It could
We
be
just-
difficult pulling out all the salaries separately from all of those different line items, so.
And we could pull out, you
Yeah.
know,
We'll be
everything
here
but the
another hour,
salaries.
right?
But I'd just say do it and we'll just amend it.
We'll amend it.
We've
next
done this
time.
before, so it's not like we're inventing the wheel.
Okay, so motion by Chick and support by who?
I'll second.
Manley, to adopt the General Appropriations Act, Resolution Number 17567, as distributed. Okay, roll call vote then.
Manley, yes. Dockett,
No.
Chick,
Yes.
Otto,
Yes.
Beliger,
No?
Chockley,
Yes,
Zelenak.
Yes.
passes. Thank you.
That's a good discussion, though.
Well, we learned a lot about each other.
Well, it was a good
And we learned a
discussion.
lot about our budget, too.
We know the budget, it's a good discussion.
This has been a really eye-opening experience,
It was a good discussion.
you know? So,
Nora is correct. It was a good discussion.
yeah,
We will amend these at the next meeting and
Right.
get everything on board and
Yep.
regain our trust.
okay, thank you very much. Okay, next item.